Visit to Daytona International Speedway for the first race of the 1996 season. The cars are on the racetrack. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Marty Reed. You know him as an auto racing commentator here on ESPN and ESPN2, but he is also a competitor in IMSA endurance competition. Marty, first visit to the high banks. What's it going to mean to this record turnout?
A record crowd of 76 cars with 4 different categories, speed differential of 20 miles an hour. You're going to see a ton of passing by the Grand Sports division. Look out for guys running up on each other and not knowing that they're coming. They better be looking in the mirrors.
Right now, they're going through the chicane for the first time. Let's take a look at our lineup. Top 5 in each of our 4 categories. Grand Sports, the biggest, heaviest, fastest cars. Boris Said with a lap at 2 minutes, 8.9 seconds in a Ford. Behind him, nothing but GM products. Cat Teasdale, Craig Conway, Joel Salentic, and Almo Capelli.
Then we take a look at sports, and Bob Henderson leads the way. Robbie Buell, he should be familiar to a lot of people. And John Goddard, Chris Wilson, Mel Shaw rounding out the top 5 there.
In the touring category, Linda Popes will be driving with her husband Randy. Terry Earwood will be the second quickest car in class. We expect the race to be between those 2 teams as you look at the rest of the top 5.
And then in compact, it'll be David Alheim, Peter Tonelli, Forrest Granlund. Now, he was the 2-time defending champion in the sports division. He's running in the compact. More on him a little bit later. Mark Jones, the brother of Max Jones, and we're ready to go racing.
This is endurance racing as it once was. These are cars right off the showroom floor. In fact, they were once known as street stock, and that truly describes them. Off the showroom floor, only slightly modified for racing. The entire field on Toyo tires, shaved to racing tread depth for cooling and traction. And now they await the first green flag of the 1996 season. On the hallowed tri-oval at Daytona International Speedway, we have a green flag, and our pole sitter, Boris Said, leads away in a Ford Mustang.
First test of the brakes. Turn 1, extremely hard on the brakes in these cars. They're very heavy, well over 3,000 pounds.
This field of 76 is a record turnout for a first event of the season in all forms of motorsport. 76 cars strong. Each car will be required to make a driver change, but not all of the cars will require extra fuel, Marty.
Craig Conway trying to reel in Boris. Now, Boris, with his Trans Am experience, he will literally cut corners. In fact, first time we see him come over the bus stop chicane, I bet you he takes it off course. I mean, it looked like he's going to be dirt tracking it.
Boris Said, a very aggressive driver. Second-generation star in the Trans Am category, driving for Ford after a long career with Chevrolet. And we expect close racing throughout the day, as you see. Some desperate lines around the outside on the infield portion of this 3.56-mile circuit that includes not only the high banks of the NASCAR Tri-Oval, but also the infield section you see the field on right now.
The hardest part about this first lap is if you had a bad qualifying session and you actually are a quicker car, you have to pick your place to get around the slower vehicles. The other thing to remember is the fast guys qualified the car, and they may not be starting still. In fact, the traditional trend in this series is to put your slower shoe in first.
I mentioned the mandatory driver change, but there is no restriction on when you make that driver change. You can do it very early, very late, anytime you like. It'll be interesting to see if anybody hits the pit road this time around as they begin passing down into the chicane.
It looks like it's Stu Hayner and John Heinrichs, the black number 33 there. Or check it, it's the 08. That's the Jones-Bridgen vehicle. That's Joe Vardy at the wheel, and everybody who knows about Joe. And look, he's getting passed on the backside, and that's the 37. I think that's John Heinrichs in that vehicle.
Joe Vardy, vastly experienced. I don't know if anybody has put in as many miles in this sort of race car as has Joe Vardy. We've got somebody off. Is that a 46, I believe, on the side of that car?
That's the car that Jason Priestley was going to be going into. Now, it looks like he's okay there. That is at the bus stop chicane. And Priestley did not start the car. His co-driver did, Kevin Caffrey from Los Angeles, California.
Jason Priestley, of course, star of Beverly Hills 90210. Looks like he went around in the chicane. Just a little bit of overcorrection as he made the sharp right after making the left-hand entry.
Yeah, the Bradford you saw in there, that was his alias that they were using, and they kept it under wraps until just 2 hours before today's race, and then they made this big announcement, but everybody knew he was here anyway.
Yeah, pretty hard to miss Jason Priestley walking around the pits.
tell you what, you look at the front of the pack, and so far, Boris Said is pulling away. Now, the one question mark is, what will the brakes do? Now, there's only 2 big braking zones here, so you've got plenty of time to let them cool down. That is John Heinrichs in the 37, and he is swarming all over that Toyota Supra.
Boris Said, the white car going out the bottom of your screen.
Or no.
Driver of the 37 car is Stu Hainer.
So see, they do this all the time. The drivers tell you one thing and then make a last-minute change. It was listed that John Heinrichs would be starting that vehicle, but those are the 2 fast shoes, and that's a Mazda RX-7 that he's going around, not the Toyota Supra.
Up on the 31-degree high banks used by the NASCAR Winston Cup stockers on Daytona 500 weekend. The infield portion used in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona and in the Daytona 200 by Arai motorcycle race here at DIS. Got a car in the pits. Car number 46. That's the Jason Priestley, Kevin Caffrey car. Let's get down to Jan Vikas.
Well, Bob, one of the first things they did on the number 46 machine was go underneath the hood and add some brake fluid. Now you can see with the sledgehammer, they are trying to move back that bodywork to keep from contacting the tire. So multiple problems here. Maybe the brake fluid is what led to the problem. And now, of course, after that contact on the right-hand side, they got to make sure that bodywork doesn't continue to make contact with the tire, because that thing will go flat for sure. He's underway. Okay here now for the number 46 Ford.
Now keep in mind, these pit stops are all important. Normally this is a true endurance series with races of 3, 4, 6 hours long. You see the 00 car down on the apron and going very slowly. This is a sprint race to open the 1996 campaign, and any time at all spent in the pits will be very, very difficult to make up. The race is going forward at a furious pace, led by Boris Said. We'll be back to Daytona in a moment. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway in the opening round of the IMSA Endurance Championship for 1996. There you see our top 4. Boris Said has been rocketing away from this field at a 1 second a lap clip. Meanwhile, behind him, things got fast and a little hairy, Marty.
Well, this is what happens. You've got a combination of first-time drivers that are stepping into this series mixed in with the experienced guys, and you saw one of them going off. This is in the experience class, I guarantee you. Stu Hainer going up against the number 1 of Kat Teasdale, and that's a pass for 4th. And on the high side, Hainer, a lot more experience than Kat. She won twice, though, last year.
Way up high on the banking and then onto the backstretch. Now, here's the reason for our yellow flag. Moments ago, Tony Kester put his BMW up on its side. He was okay. They actually righted the car, and it looked none the worse for wear. Meanwhile, in the pits, the mandatory driver changes began to take place.
Yeah, and what happens here is that because it's a 90-minute race, which is the shortest, the driver, if you don't want to score points, all you have to do is go for 4 laps, a minimum, and then you can make your driver change. Then here's the surprising thing to me. They were able to get Tony Kester's BMW back on all 4s, and he did drive away.
And I should correct myself. Official word it was not Tony Kester in that car, but his partner, Hartmut Hesseker from Munich, Germany. And now the leaders in the sports class, the BMW 325 IS. Robbie Buell started it. He then gave over under the yellow flag to his teammate, Kyle Schura. Marty, are you surprised that an experienced driver like Buell would get out so soon?
Yeah, but Schura is the lead guy on this team, and this is the thing. I think Bill's got more on this.
You can go right to the source and ask him. Robbie, short day for you.
Well, that was part of our strategy here with the hour-and-a-half race. I'm not going to be doing all the races this year, so I don't need points. But the other driver had to do 4 laps, and that's just what I did today. And Kyle's going to be running for the championship. This is the first yellow. Let's make that swap, because hopefully it'll go green from here on out.
Okay, their strategy's underway. They qualified 2nd in the division, guys.
Oh, I got to tell you, I just saw somebody pull in the number 3 car, and this is going to be exciting. David Murray is climbing in. This is one of the cars. They got to their fuel window. This is a Pontiac in the Grand Sports division. This is going to be great strategy.
Lights are out on the pace car. We expect the green flag next time around. Anybody caught in the pits when the race goes green has made a drastic error.
Murray is going to be able to go the distance. He is a former champion in Grand Sports, won it 2 years ago, won the SCCA World Challenge Championship last year.
Last leaders at this point, Boris said, as I mentioned, pulling away from the field at a second a lap before this yellow flag closed everybody up. In the sports class, Robbie Buell and Kyle Chura were leading, but they made their driver change and they have dropped back. In the touring class, the Honda Prelude of Mark Hine is now in the lead. And the compact class, it is Dave Allheim in a Nissan 240. There you see the top 4 in our Grand Sports category. The most powerful cars. Boris said, right up front. Be interesting to see if he can pull away the way he did at the initial green flag.
I'll tell you, the thing that is going to be absolutely the most spectacular thing is if we are going to have to keep an eye on David Murray at the very back of the pack in the number 3 Grand Sports Pontiac, because he has been cut through this pack like grease. He is fun to watch. I'll tell you what, the only time I don't like watching is when I was competing against him.
And they have taken the green flag. They don't wait for the start-finish line. They've taken it on the infield, and look at Boris said in that white Ford Mustang Cobra begin to draw away once again.
Boris was picking up a second a lap just before the yellow came out. And the only question is, are you burning up the brakes at that point a little bit too early? But he had plenty of time to let him cool back down. Looks like we're going to get a pass going on there. Back for about 5th position.
Drafting out on the back stretch, just like Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt here at Daytona. Meanwhile, 2 wide on the high bank. Somebody going to make it 3 coming up in that Porsche up high? You bet.
I'll tell you what, in this class, in this division, you will see people pass any place on the racetrack, even if it means taking a wheel or 2 off.
Here's the heavy braking, and then the sharp left-hand turn. You have to get this chicane lined up properly, or you'll lose all kinds of time. And as we've already seen in that race, you will go over that FIA curving and find yourself out in the weeds if you're not very careful.
That 31 car that we're looking at there, that is Terry Earwood and John Green, and those are team cars, so those guys trying to set up a little bit of a draft.
You know, I'm a little surprised, Martin, we haven't seen more of that, guys running nose to tail as teammates.
Well, again, it may be the fact that they may not have all their fast guys in the car, and there is Stu Hayner in the number 37. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Down the inside, the 05 Mustang looking to pick up a position. 2-car, whoa, using all of the track and then some to try to stay on his door handle.
That's Craig Conway. Boy, he made the pass stick, too. I can't believe he made that stick on the outside there. Because all it would have taken was a little nudge, and he would have been gone.
Joe Salentek in the white 05 Mustang. He's going to come down the inside now, try to take the position back. He's got slower traffic in front of him.
Salentek is a clean racer, though. I've never seen Joe, and all the times I've seen him race, he's never taken anybody out.
On this long, long racetrack, even under a long stretch of green, it would take a while before the quick Grand Sports cars would be able to come around and do any lapping of the cars at the tail end of this field. Daytona International Speedway, in its combined oval and road race configuration, is an enormous place and a terrific place to go racing.
Well, they're telling us that the 5-car right now is being driven by Pat Sessions. If that's Pat in the car, this is the best drive I've ever seen him make. No offense against Pat, but, I mean, he does not have all the experience of some of these guys that he is dicing with right now.
Sessions sharing that car. Another multi-car team. Whoa, we've got a lot of dirt and a lot of slipping and sliding going on out there.
Now, what residue of that dust is going to make that corner slippery until it gets blown off.
One of the driver changes made early on involved Linda Pobst, who got out of her sports car, handed over to husband Randy. Let's go down and meet her now with Bill Weber.
And her husband is a 2-time champion in this division. You're sacrificing points by doing this because you are running the whole circuit.
Yes, I am. Randy is going for the championship, and I would like to go for the championship too, but this is his career, and I do it mostly for fun, and it's just the honor and the glory to be driving with him. But we knew that we have to go at least 4 laps. You have to go 35 minutes to get points, but the 4 laps was important because the yellow came out right after that, and the best time to come in is when it's under yellow. So this is the best time to come in. He's a little faster, so we want to go for it and win.
Okay, all you married right, guys, there's the wife sacrificing for the husband. See if the strategy pays off here today. And don't let her kid you. Randy's one of the first guys to tell you she's a pretty fast young lady.
No question about it. A tip of the hat to her for the sportsmanship. This is a battle for the lead. Meanwhile, watch what happens coming into the chicane when you get it just the slightest bit wrong with all kinds of people behind you. Often on the racetrack, on the inside. Ooh, that could have been really messy.
That is all four wheels off on that, and I think that was the 31 car. So those guys were trying to run in a freight train there, and somebody broke up the train.
And that is a battle for the lead in the touring car category, dominated in seasons past by these Honda Preludes with the VTEC engine.
The number 99 with the Honda Accord, that's I think Jason Potter, no, Peter Klangbing in there.
Up front, there is your overall race leader, Boris Said, continuing to have things his own way. Look at the interval back to the Grand Sports cars chasing him. Back there at about a battle for 6th or so. It is a Ford Mustang Cobra up against a Mazda RX-7.
That's John Kohler in the 47 Mustang. He is the car owner of the team car that Jason Priestley is driving.
I saw something fly off the number 47 car, but it might have just been debris kicked up in the air. There seems to be a bit of a hole right on the apex of that sharp right-hander entering the chicane. And they're going to have to be very careful of that. Meanwhile, look at the daylight between Boris Said and the field.
Oh, Murray has got a flat right rear. He was working his way up brilliantly through the pack. And that is going to spell doom, because by the time he nurses it around, they will be a lap down.
And once again, this is a sprint format race. No time can be lost in the pits whatsoever, much less the time David Murray will lose on the racetrack. Let's watch here at the top of your picture. It'll be the left side of the car as he comes towards you. Second car line in your picture right now. And there it is, right rear.
Boy, I'll tell you what, it's shredded.
Tire engineers call that severe delamination, and no one would agree more than David Murray. We'll be back for more in a moment. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway in the IMSA Endurance Championship Round 1 for 1996. Bob Varsh along with Marty Reed in the booth. Bill Weber and Jan Bikas are in the pit lane. There are the overall leaders and leaders in the Grand Sports class. Boris Said, whose first pit stop and the driver change to Sean Hendricks is quickly approaching, followed by the Heinrichs Hayner machine. There you see 5th through 8th in Grand Sports. Not much change going on back there. Deeper into the field, all Grand Sports cars until we come to our sports class leader. Now here is Boris Said to the right of the dotted line on the pit entrance, preparing to hand off to last year's IMSA Supercar champion, Sean Hendricks. Let's get down to the pit lane.
Our leader, Boris Said, has come to a stop, and believe me, he got on the brakes at the absolute last moment. Now, you may be wondering, why are they here at just over the 30-minute mark? The reason is neither of these two drivers, Boris Said or Sean Hendricks, they could care less about points. They knew that the points runners did not come in until the 35-minute window, so they've decided to hit just prior to that, so if they hit a yellow flag later on, they'll have the track position they need. Wow, quick stop for them. They're waiting for the last little bit of fuel over on the other side. This car will only go 1 hour and 10 minutes on a fuel load. They've gone about 30. They should be fine. He's underway. He's out of here. Our leader, which is no longer the leader, but might be if we hit a yellow.
Sounds like a pretty bulletproof strategy thus far, and you might have noticed it was hard to see there, but the fuel is put into these cars not through one of those quick change valves that we often see, but through the standard door opening on the side of the car. Boris is out. Here's Jan.
Now, Boris, you told us that this strategy was going to be, we're going to move here because we have another team car going to occupy this pit space. That's very wise to get out of the way, but the reasoning is you want track position in case you hit a yellow flag.
Yeah, I mean, we figure, the pit stop's everything here, and car's running great. Sean's just as fast as I am, so we figure we try to take advantage of it and come in before anybody else so we can be in front.
Okay, you can probably hear in the background they're getting a little anxious because there's other cars wanting to come in. Nice job of driving.
Thanks a lot.
So the number 20 Mustang Cobra is now in the hands of Sean Hendricks from Easley, South Carolina, just south of Greenville. They will be making their way back to the front. Nothing would please them more than a yellow flag. Meanwhile, the racing continues through the chicane, getting very dirty out there. Keep in mind, these are showroom cars. No fancy suspensions, no extra shock controls for bump and roll and so forth. This is as close to a street car on the racetrack as you can find. Now look at that faster ground sports car maneuvering through traffic on the high banks.
And that's always the problem that you have in these races where you have 4 different classes going after each other. Once you get into the lapping, you're always passing somebody if you're in one of these grand sports vehicles, and you've got to stay alert.
And that was an example of how not to do it. The faster cars are supposed to be passing on the high side. But that driver decided there wasn't enough room up there and dove down underneath the traffic. That is a risky move. Infield oval, cars getting right out to and over the curbing on the left.
And there's the new leader, Stu Hainer, as he takes over the point position because of Boris Said making the driver change with Sean Hendricks. And it'll be interesting to see now how long they'll try and stretch this fuel load, because Hainer will be able to go about an hour 15 minutes total, maybe an hour 20. Now here's Jason Priestley getting into the 46 car. Remember that it was Caffrey that spun it a little bit earlier. They are a lap down, so they might as well go ahead and get Jason into this. And he told me before the start of the race, he said, look, this is my first race. All I want to do is finish, but before the season's out, our goal is to always be in the top 5 or on the podium and to at least win one.
Now, Jason Priestley is not without high-speed experience, but he spent most of his early years as a professional racer, well, actually as an amateur racer, in rally competition in the Sports Car Club of America Series. So Priestley is not unused to a high-performance car at speed. To the best of my knowledge, this is one of his earliest efforts in a circuit race on pavement, and certainly his first visit to the high banks of Daytona. It should be an eye-opener for him. Here comes our overall race leader and leader in the Grand Sports class.
Well, I tell you what, Stu Hainer is so smooth with a car. He and John Heinrich almost interchangeable. These guys have raced together for several years. For Joe Aquilani's American racers, and he has done an excellent job here. They will be ready, and I guarantee you this will be one of the best pit stops that you'll see. If they catch the yellow just right, then it'll be a real shootout to see what happens with Hendricks.
If in fact there is a yellow at all. Of course, I'm the one who said it would take a while before the leaders caught the slower cars. We are lapping now, and our race leader is in the pits for the pit stop Marty talked about. Now keep in mind that the 20 car, the early race leader right up there at the right of your screen, is on the backstretch approaching the chicane. Let's see if he gets around before this pit stop is finished.
The 05 is also in.
Let's get down to Bill Weber.
Well, these guys are running for the championship, not just to win this race, so they had to hang out there longer than Boris Said and company. Stu Hainer is out 10th in points last year. This is a well-run team, a big part of Pontiac winning the championship in the Grand Sports divisions for the manufacturers last year. John Heinrich has climbed in. He tests Corvettes for a living. He jokes about it. He said, my job is to wreck Corvettes on the test track, so he's got the world's second greatest job, of course, next to pit announcing. But Heinrich, he's in. The net is up. They're putting enough fuel in so that Pontiac Firebird will make it to the end, watching for Said to come by on the front stretch. And Said has now passed Heinrich. He sits on pit road. The car now lowered. They continue to fill up the car. They have to tighten the gas cap just like you and I do at the service station. And Heinrich, he's away. But he's Jason Boris Said and company with after the driver change made in that car.
That's right. It is Sean Hendricks who has relieved Boris Said in the number 20, now race leading Ford Mustang. As you see John Heinrich coming out. And you mentioned it, Marty, while we were there, the third place car in class, the 05 Ford, being shared by Joe Salentic and Formula One emigre Alex Caffey. You remember that name from the heydays of the Arrows team under Jackie Oliver? He is now in the car for his first tour of Daytona International Speedway. Let's get more from Jan Bikas.
Well, to give you a quick update on the pit stop on the 05 machine, what happened was Joe Salentic came in, missed the pits, slid right past it. The crew had to run out, had to push the car back, and as you mentioned, Alex Caffey got in the machine, but they lost a tremendous amount of time here in the pit lane, him sliding right past the marks. Let's go up to Bill Weber.
Stu Hainer chasing Boris Said, and then Sean Hendricks. They're fast. Can John catch them?
Yeah, I didn't actually think we'd get up with that Mustang, but we got up there, and then when we got behind him in some traffic, he decided to pit, which I think he pitted just a little bit early because of the caution, but we never know. We decided at 35 minutes we were going to pit, because of the caution, we extended it to about 40 minutes, and I think we made the right decision. We'll see what happens in an hour and a half.
You guys are running for the championship, too. You both needed points today.
Absolutely. John and I both needed points. We had to make sure we're in the car a certain amount of time, and we did that.
Stu Hainer, guys.
Boy, if you ever doubted that these drivers are serious racers, I think you saw it right there as Stu Hainer described what it is like to be out there on the racetrack. Whoops, now we've got problems. The 47, we've been watching him in and out of traffic all day, locking up the rear going in. Overcooked his line a little bit, Marty.
John Kohler a little bit hot on the tires there, and that won't do him any good if you get a good flat spot on him. But he is working his way through the traffic. The thing that's really interesting to me about this is the strategy here. The Hainer-Heinrichs team decided we can't afford to wait because we might as well make the change now, match the leader, and then let's go race him.
This is first and second in category. Car number 70. Sylvain Tremblay of Pompano Beach, Florida, and Bob Towery out of Memphis, Tennessee. But they have yet to make their pit stop, I believe. And everything will change when they do. We'll be back for more endurance action from DIS. We are back at Daytona International Speedway, where our leader is Sylvain Tremblay in a Mazda RX-7, leading the Mustang Cobra of John Kohler. As the mandatory pit stops continue in this race, we expect shortly to see the number 20 right there in 5th spot. Shawn Hendricks behind the wheel right now, moving up. And when the pit stops are complete, if their plan goes properly, Shawn Hendricks will be in the lead. But right now, that lead belongs to this car, number 70, a Mazda RX-7 Turbo being driven by Sylvain Tremblay from Pompano Beach, Florida. There's the second place car just behind. That is John Kohler from Bradford, Pennsylvania in a Mustang Cobra R.
John looks like he's having a little bit of a handful with the car right now. Now there's 4th and 5th. And the 5th place car, the number 20, is the one that we've been keeping our eye on. Shawn Hendricks, the defending supercar champion in IMSA competition. And as Boris told us, he's just as good as I am, which brings fear to every other driver out here. Ooh, look out, he got into him.
Trying to dodge underneath the slower traffic. One car rear ends another. And off track goes Shawn Hendricks. His race, as well as that of Boris Said, is now finished. As it is for the number 11 car, John Quick and Brian Cunningham, trying to dodge underneath. Our 3rd place car is now in the pits for the driver change. This is the number 5 car.
It's Don Knowles getting out and Rod Walton getting in. We originally had Pat Sessions in that car, but we found out it was Don Knowles. And Don, a very experienced road racer.
And they have an opportunity to hold that position or perhaps move up as the pit stops continue. Let's take another look at what happened. Watch the red car as the 2 Mustangs come up from behind. The red car moves to the right. One Mustang goes underneath. And the second Mustang looks like he just left his braking way too late, Marty.
I'll tell you what, it looked like he got short brake on the number 11 car with John Quick, and that's the Brian Cunningham and Brian Hood team, and there is what's left of the 20 car. So what a tough break for those guys. But as we said, you've got to keep your eyes open in this series because that's what happens. Oh, Jason Priestley is in trouble. He is stopped on the side of the course. And there is Rob Walton going back out in the number 5 car. Looks like Priestley's race is done, so it doesn't look like he's going to reach his goal of making it.
There's Shawn Hendricks out of the car. We mentioned earlier that the Jason Priestley car was having problems with brake fluid. It looks like their woes are now terminal, as they are for Shawn Hendricks.
Well, this opens the door for several teams, and there is Jason Priestley, and not very happy, I'm sure, with the demise of his number 46 Ford Mustang.
When you get an opportunity to drive at a place like Daytona International Speedway, you don't want to have your stint behind the wheel cut short.
We're 51 minutes.
Now we have a full course yellow all the way around, and as it happens, car number 47, the second place car of Kohler and Smith, is now in, and there you see it.
Well, could be a very good sign for the 70 car, because what they're going to be able to do, if they can get around quickly before the pace car gets out, they can make their stop. But it looks like the pace car may have picked him up. I'm looking on the far side of the race course. Yes, the pace car is going to pick him up. So this is really not going to help him as much as if he could have ducked into the pit right before as the yellow was coming out. So this one now is going to hurt him, because he is going to be picked up at the leader. It's going to help the 47 team. It's going to help the 5 team. It's going to help everybody else that was already made their driver change, because now when he comes back out, he's going to be at the back end of the cycle.
And the 47 car right there is virtually the only car in pit lane. So they have timed it absolutely to perfection. So we have a full course caution while they clean up the debris of that big accident back in the chicane involving 2 of the Mustangs, including the early race leader being shared by Boris Said and Sean Hendricks. There you see the Said Hendricks Mustang parked up against the fence. We'll take this opportunity for a timeout and return in a moment. Back at Daytona International Speedway in the opening event of the International Motorsports Endurance Championship for street stock cars in 1996. Bob Barsham, Marty Reed with you. We are under a full course caution, and this is the reason. Watch the 3rd car in line, a white Ford Mustang, closing at a tremendous rate as they begin to brake for the chicane.
I'm wondering if Sean Hendricks just lost his brakes. Look at this. He's not slowing down. I don't think he had any brakes. And he used the 11 car as a punching bag, and unfortunately the 44 car gets swept up in it as well. Unreal. Just that quickly, a great day just turns to dirt.
Sean Hendricks is now a spectator, having climbed out okay. There you see the 1995 IMSA Supercar champion. Tough moment for him. He and Boris Said had their race going just fine. And when the yellow came out, this car, the race leader, was caught out. They made their pit stop very late, Mark.
And Sylvain Tremblay did not know how the series works. This is his first time that he was racing in this car and this team, and he got caught out, went all the way around. He's going to be back at the back. Now, another team that did take advantage of it was the 47 John Kohler, Gary Smith team. Smith's now in it, and they are only 7 cars in position. 7 cars separate them from the actual race leader, which is now the number 37 of John Heinrichs.
It's going to be a great restart with all of the top cars bunched together. Now let's get down to Jan Bikas in the pit lane.
Well, Bob, first an update as far as the 70 machine. They came in at first, they were saying, well, we're going to pit in a couple laps. Then they said, well, you know, we think there's going to be a full course caution, so we're going to wait for the caution. Well, just like Marty was talking about, I think they miscalculated, got caught behind the pace car, so maybe some inexperience there cost them. Initially, they were excited about a full course caution. Now it's put them way back. Now, let's talk about the cause of the caution. You drove car number 20 previous. There was some radio communication. We thought maybe you drove the car real hard. We wondered if it had brakes. Did it feel like it did when you came in?
Yeah, I mean, the car was perfect. It, you know, we had a plan and to pit first and get out first, and if it all worked out, we would have been leading right now. But I think it just got tangled up in traffic.
What was his report? I mean, I know he's radioed to the crew. Was it his mistake, or was there a mechanical problem?
It's a little early. I don't really know. There wasn't a mechanical problem. I think it was just a slight pilot miscalculation.
Those braking points are important in traffic, I know.
That's right. When you use other cars to brake, it kind of hurts you. But hopefully we have a second car, and if it can, it's only 1 place behind the leader, so maybe it'll still be the first Ford win this weekend.
All right, thanks, Boris.
Thanks.
And as you can see, it deranged the left front wheel on Sean Hendricks' Ford Mustang. No way he could have continued. Lights are still on in the pace car. We'll be right back. Back at Daytona, we are moments from turning the field loose for a dash of the checkered flag. There you see the top 4 in Grand Sports. They are nose to tail on the racetrack, and it should be great fun to watch them go. 5th through 8, all Grand Sports cars. As you take a look down through the field, the leader in our sports class, Eric Van Cleef and Bob Henderson in their Toyota Supra. In the compact class, David Daugherty and David Allheim.
And there's 13th place. We talked about how costly that pit stop was for Tremblay and Towery. They are back in 13th.
And our touring class leaders, Randy and Linda Popes, in their Honda Prelude. Safety car will come off shortly. We will turn them loose and watch these top 5 cars. Here we go.
keep an eye on that red one, the number 2, Doug Goat. He's going to try and take Zabinski as fast as he can.
Off the infield, the change, and it's a fairly harsh one, up onto the NASCAR banking. 31 degrees steep.
Zabinski did a nice job in 3rd place on the restart. He's got Doug Goat right on his right side. Here comes Goat. I tell you, Doug Goat, when it comes to the final 20 minutes of a race, he becomes absolutely ruthless. I mean, he's not dirty or anything, but he will not give you an inch. He will take everything he can from you.
And he gets the position. He is into 3rd as they dive into the chicane.
Right behind Zabinski now is Goat's partner in the number 1 car, defending champion Andy Pilgrim. Wouldn't take too long, I don't think, for Andy to get around Zabinski either.
Are you surprised we're not seeing more drafting, Marty?
Well, I think if Andy could have gotten around with Doug Goat at that very time, but there you see, there's a bit of drafting. The 47 car of Gary Smith, he's going to tuck in right underneath Andy Pilgrim, and the 2 of them will go faster, and poor Ed Zabinski, he's hung out to dry.
Meanwhile, Doug Goat is trying to claw his way up to the front 2 cars. Oh, we have a spin down in turn 1.
Look out, Gary. Oh, he didn't miss the wall. He caught that front wall.
And he is right smack in the middle of turns 1 and 2 with a lot of traffic bearing down on him, and the yellow flag is out. Fortunately, most of the field will see that yellow flag at the flag stand before they get down into that corner. You see, he was able to get the car off the track.
Boy, he had a great race going. John Kohler put the car in a winning position. Gary came out and unfortunately just got a little too hot into that turn 1.
Easy to do when you're racing door handle to door handle with some evenly matched cars. Here's another look.
One thing you may remember, he was drafting here, so you're actually going quicker. He might not have realized just how much faster he was going. Ooh, and he just caught the end of the concrete. If he misses that, he'd still be in the race.
Absolutely. On this wet grass, the cars don't slow down well, but it is soft and easy to keep the car in one piece. There you see it again, just flipping it and breaking the right front suspension. One more time. I guess he did not touch the car in front of him.
No, he did not hit Andy Pilgrim at all. And again, it might be one of those situations where he was following Andy so tightly, he missed his brake point, and he was going so fast.
So very close. So John Kohler and Gary Smith are now out of the race. That will shuffle the order slightly, and we will have yet another restart. Stay with us. Back at Daytona International Speedway, there is John Kohler. We may have made a misidentification of the driver of the number 47 car who spun off and clipped the end of the pit wall, ending his day. Here's another look, Marty.
Yeah, he told me before the race he was going to start the car, but obviously they made a last-minute change. It was Gary first, and here's John. And boy, he was just tucked up underneath Andy Pilgrim so nicely, but I think he missed his braking point. And he just got in too hot and unfortunately tagging that inside wall. Otherwise, he'd have spun across the track. He would have been fine. He'd have lost a couple of positions, but at least he'd still be out there.
As you see from the tracks in the grass, other men have done so before him. That is how John Kohler's race ended. That also gives you an idea of the speed these cars enter turn 1 with. I would guess well in excess of 100 miles an hour.
John's explaining it to one of the safety crew, saying, man, I feel awful.
Indeed I did. It went around before I could get a handle on it. We'll have another timeout, wait for the lights to go out on the safety car, and go back to racing. Back at Daytona International Speedway, the safety car pulls off the track and the field is turned loose. And the waning moments of the opening round in the IMSA Endurance Championship for 1996. Watch the front cars. Bit of a slip there. The red car is Doug Goat. He'll have a shot at second place.
Goat, did you see how he trail braked through the last corner, came off of, now he's got the underneath line. I think he may be able to take the position. Unfortunately, teammate Andy Pilgrim was not able to tuck up underneath him. Boy, this is great horsepower battle down the back straightaway. Caffey in the Ford, and then the Pontiac on the inside. Uh-oh, something's got to give here.
Alex Caffey in that white 05 Mustang has never been in a situation like this, driving a street stock endurance car at Daytona International Speedway. Sure, he's got Formula One experience, but he also has Doug Goat in front of him.
And now Gode's going to set his sights, if he can, on John Heinrichs. Look at the lead that Heinrichs has pulled out.
Whoops, we've got action in the chicane. A spinner, fortunately, off the racetrack.
That will not bring out a full course caution. They will not want to stop this race so close to the end. Boy, Caffey's tucked up right underneath Doug Gode.
So Alex Caffey from Italy, who has spent much of his recent racing years in what is called super touring cars in Italy. Very high-powered street cars, but more racing-oriented in their construction than these cars, which are essentially showroom stock examples with roll cages and so forth added for safety before they are raced.
See how much room Doug Gode pulled up under on John Heinrichs in the infield section. His car has got the better handling right now in the infield, and it looks like the horsepower. Look at how wide Heinrichs' car's got. I'm wondering if his tires may be going away.
But yet on the straightaways, Heinrichs is able to draw away from Gode, and Caffey comes right up onto Gode's rear bumper. There's the leader in the sports class. Car number 84 being shared by Eric Van Cleef and Bob Henderson. I believe it's Van Cleef in the car right now. No, it's Henderson. Being trailed by Gary Davis. But Davis well behind at this point. So Henderson will simply have to keep it on the track and keep pumping along. Meanwhile, up front, Heinrichs with about a 6 or 8 car advantage over Gode as they go up onto the banking another time.
Word from the pits, they've checked with the team. Heinrichs saying the tires are fine. Andy Pilgrim doesn't seem to be able to pull into these guys on the high bank oval. He falls back there in fourth spot.
Of the 76 cars that started the race, 67 are still running.
Here comes Caffey on the inside.
Gonna try Gode under braking. Gode turns in, takes all of the racetrack, takes a hit, and slides off. Caffey holds onto the racetrack. Gode never lifts out of it, but drops to fourth.
What I tell you about how ruthless he is, he did not give up the corner. He didn't care if it took him off, and I'm telling you, he is amazing under pressure.
Well, I'm sure he's having a conversation with himself right now and probably turning a thought in Alex Caffey's direction. Let's take another look and watch Doug Gode.
He will not break here. I mean, look at this. He's not giving the corner up at all. I'm surprised Caffey didn't come off as well.
And look at the rooster tail.
Man, he just hammered it, and all he does is lose one position, two positions.
Two positions.
Well, now it's going to be up to Andy Pilgrim to carry the team colors, and it looks like he's closing down on Caffey. But in the meantime, while those guys are dicing, there goes the 37 of John Heinrichs. He's loving it. He says, go ahead, beat on each other, guys.
We'll be back to wrap things up. The run to the checkered flag in a most entertaining race here at Daytona, coming your way in just a moment. Back at Daytona International Speedway, 1 lap remaining in this opening round of the IMSA Endurance Championship for 1996. There you see the Ford Mustang Battalion Alex Caffey running in second place, and there is the race leader.
There's Randy Popes. He is the leader in the touring category. Remember, there's 4 divisions out here, and that is the battle for the lead. There's Joe Nonamaker right on his back bumper.
Around they go in the infield one last time. There is a gap ahead of them, so no problem with traffic at this point. Nonamaker looks down the outside.
Randy's got the defensive line there. Normally he would be further out.
On to Prelude against Mazda. Action up on the high banks as the leaders take the white flag. 1 lap remaining.
Back to this touring battle. And there is John Heinrichs. Right now, this is his race. I mean, there's no way the other 2 can catch him unless he makes a major mistake.
I'll tell you what, Alex Caffey is not out of the woods. He has got company on this final lap. Meanwhile, Doug Gode, who had that dramatic drop from second place to fourth when he collided with Alex Caffey in the chicane and went off the racetrack.
I was impressed with the way Caffey managed to hold on to it as well. I mean, 2 good pieces of driving by both these guys. I don't know. I don't think Andy's got the horses to catch Caffey.
It wouldn't appear so. Cappy draws away on the straightaway. Those Mustang Cobra R's very quick in a straight line.
Well, right now, Caffey is the Ford sandwich in a Pontiac bread deal. I mean, they are on either end of him. And right now, Heinrichs in control. There you see the red car. That's Doug Goad back in fourth spot. He has no chance of getting back into it.
Nice thing about watching these cars race in close to street configuration, when the drivers get on the brakes, you see the front of the car dip. Make no mistake about where they're getting on the binders.
Here we come. We can tell you update that Nonamaker did get around Randy Popes, so he's got a little more than a lap, and there it is. There's the battle. They are on the infield portion down into the hairpin. Oh, he lights up the right rear. Now we're told that it is Pate that is in 41, and not Joe Nonamaker. So Bill Pate from Lafayette, Indiana.
Take a look at the pass.
This is on the tri-oval, heading down towards turn number 1. And he goes to the outside. Interesting move, and he was able to get around cleanly before he even gets to the start-finish line.
Good example of the use of drafting, and we haven't seen a lot of that. Most of the drivers relying on horsepower rather than the aerodynamic effect of getting behind another car and the two cars together going faster than one car can alone. There you see the lead for John Heinrichs over Alex Caffey as he comes down to take the checkered flag and win the Grand Sports Division and the overall title in the IMSA Endurance Championship here at Daytona. And we've had a repass in the touring class. Randy Popes is back around Pate in a bid for the victory in class. Here's a look at our top 4 in Grand Sports now that they have finished. John Heinrichs, Alex Caffey over Andy Pilgrim and Doug Goad. But the pivotal moment of this race happened much earlier. The third car in line, Sean Hendricks, having taken over from Boris Said, the race leaders making their way back up the grid, overcooked the corner, collided with the car ahead of him, and that was the end of the day for the Said Hendricks team. Let's get down to Victory Lane now and Bill Weber.
Thanks, Bob. In Victory Lane with John Heinrichs and Stu Hainer. John, congratulations. You guys had a disappointing season last year. I know this is a great way to start 96.
Yeah, it sure is. We came here to the test. Joe came down and committed to doing the test and had all the cars ready for a test, and the crew was here, and we were all pumped up. Did good at the test. Stu did a fantastic job with the car starting out and left me with a good car, and all I had to do was drive. Everything worked just like we planned.
Well, Stu Hainer started it, but John Heinrichs brought it home. The two guys in Victory Lane down here. Bob Varsha?
All right, thanks, Bill. Congratulations indeed to Stu Hainer and John Heinrichs taking victory overall and in the Grand Sports class after a race full of dramatic turns of events and restarts. In the sports category, Eric Van Cleef and Bob Henderson come home first in their Toyota Supra with another close battle to the flag. An interesting situation in the touring class where Bill Pate and John Nonamaker won in their Mazda while Randy Pope slipped to third on the final lap of the race. And our winners in the compact class, the Nissan 240 SX of David Daugherty and David Alheim. That's the story from Daytona International Speedway. I'm Bob Varsha for Bill Weber, Marty Reed, and Jan Vikas. So long, everyone.